Welcome to the Kansas Airspace Awareness Tool. The public access web-based tool uses Google Earth as a platform for viewing a 3D image of the proposed structure at a particular location. In order to get started and be able to use the tool efficiently, you will need to have internet access, have the Google Earth plugin installed on your computer. However, in order to download the Google Earth plugin, you will need to have administrative rights on your computer. If you do not, you will need to contact your system administrator. It would also be beneficial for you to have a mouse with a roller wheel on it. This will make navigating in the tool much easier. It is also important for you to know that the Kansas Airspace Awareness Tool runs off your computer's processor speed, so the older your computer, the slower the tool may run. Now that you know exactly what you need, we can get started. First, start by opening up your web browser. In this case, I'm using Internet Explorer. However, the tool will run best when using Google Chrome, but any web browser will do. Once your web browser opens, navigate to your address bar and type in www.ksdot.org and press enter. This will take you to the Kansas Department of Transportation's website. You'll then need to go to the left-hand side of the screen and hover over Other Transportation Modes and then click on Aviation. You're now on the Aviation's website. From here, you will need to go to the right-hand side of the screen and click on the Kansas Airspace Awareness Tool link. The first page you see is the disclaimer page, asking you to read and accept the terms and conditions. Take a brief moment to read those over, then go to the lower left-hand corner and checkmark the box that says I agree. Then click Continue. You are now inside the Kansas Airspace Awareness Tool. But remember I told you that you would need to have the Google Earth plugin installed first? Well, this message is informing you that it does not recognize that you have the Google Earth plugin. That's okay though. Let's click OK. Then you should see a button that pops up, and it should say Download the Google Earth plugin. Go ahead and click that. Then click Run. Click Run again. Give the Google Earth plugin a brief moment to install. Then click Close, and the Google Earth plugin is now installed. You will need to restart your web browser, so close any web browsers that you have open. Then go open up a web browser again, and this time I'm going to take you on a shortcut to get to the Airspace Awareness Tool. So if you'll go up to your address bar and type in www.ksdot.org/airspace tool and press enter. You are now at the disclaimer page. Go ahead and click I agree and click Continue. You are now fully inside the Kansas Airspace Awareness Tool, where you will find the first of its kind tool that provides you visual representation of the local and regional airspace, including Victor Airways, military training routes, and special use airspace. Once here, there are several tools at your disposal to perform your analysis. Before we go any further, I think it's important that you know how to use your mouse as well as the navigation tools that are available in Google Earth to allow you to investigate proposed objects at various angles. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to pan over using your mouse. So to do this, simply hover somewhere over your map. Notice that your cursor becomes a small hand. Then you can click and drag to the right. To come back, you can click and drag to the left. If for any reason you would rather use the tools provided to you by Google Earth, you can find those on the right-hand side of your screen. So to pan over, you would use this tool available to you by Google Earth. Next, I'm going to show you how to zoom in and out. So this is when having the roller wheel on your mouse comes in handy. To zoom in and out, go to any location on the map and click one time. And to zoom in, you'll scroll up on your roller wheel, To zoom out, you'll scroll down on your roller wheel. If for any reason you do not have a mouse with a roller wheel on it, don't worry, you can still use the tools provided to you by Google Earth on the right-hand side of your screen. In this case, you'll use the zoom slider. Next, I'm going to show you how to use your mouse to get into 3D rotational view. To do this, you will use the roller wheel on your mouse. You may need to zoom in. Then you can click and hold your roller wheel and move down to see a 3D rotational view. If for any reason you do not have a roller wheel on your mouse, that's okay. You can use the tool provided to you by Google Earth in the upper right-hand corner to get into 3D rotational view. In this section, we will discuss what each data layer displays in the list on the left side of your screen. Data layers can be turned on and off by checkmarking the box on the left side. Going from the bottom of the list to the top, starting with the map inset. The map inset layer has been included to provide an aerial locator of your position within the state of Kansas. As you zoom or move around the state, the map inset continues to update with your existing position shown graphically on the lower right portion of the screen. As you can see, this is automatically turned on when the tool starts up. As I mentioned a moment ago, you can turn these data layers on and off by checking and unchecking the box to the left. I'm going to turn the map inset off by unchecking the box. Next is the 3D building layer, which allows you to see three-dimensional images such as buildings and may be turned on to add realism of the model that has been created. However, 3D buildings are not available in all areas of the state and are determined by Google Earth. The next layer is Vector Airwaves. When turned on, this layer shows the airways for aircraft using point-to-point navigation. These routes are typically located between 1,200 feet and 18,000 feet mean sea level. Next is the obstructions layer, which provides the available structures around the state of Kansas, whether they are obstructions to air navigation or not. These structures may include water towers, communications towers, wind turbines, or buildings. The next layer is special use airspace. With this layer turned on, you will see surfaces that include restricted areas that are shown on the map to illustrate its location in the state of Kansas. Special use airspace is an area reserved for certain flight activities that must be confined to their nature or where limitations are imposed on aircraft operations that are not a part of those activities, or both. Typically, this airspace has a floor-ceiling boundary and operating hours for which these restrictions apply. The restricted areas are controlled by the FAA, and aircraft are prohibited from operating in these areas during certain hours and altitudes. Next, you have the U.S. Sectionals layer. When turning on the U.S. Sectionals layer, you may see red X's pop up on your map. Don't worry, just go over on top of your map and then zoom in a bit, and the red X's should go away. The current U.S. sectional map is overlaid on the Google Earth for reference. These maps are used by pilots to navigate from point to point and depict airports, nav aids, obstructions, dominant land features, radio frequencies, and other air navigation information needed for safe flight. Then you have military training routes. The military training routes are shown inside the special use areas in the state. These low-level routes are reserved for high-speed, low-altitude operations. Next is the Contacts for Vicinity layer. When the Contacts for Vicinity layer is turned on, you can hover over any of these circles, click on one. When clicked on, it shows you each airport's contact information, such as the name, owner, phone number, and any other information available. Next is the vertically guided airspace surface. These surfaces are separated into runways with vertical guidance and runways without vertical guidance. When the vertically guided airspace layer is turned on, you will then need to zoom in to an airport to fully see the surface layer. Once you zoom in far enough, you should then be able to see the surfaces. These surfaces are used by the FAA to guide the new airspace obstruction surveys that provide a rigorous analysis of all the objects within an approach surface. The next data layer is the CFR Part 77 airspace surface, or imaginary surface. When turning this layer on, you will need to go and hover over an airport and zoom into that location in order to see the surface. In this case, I'll zoom into the Hayes Airport. With this layer turned on and zoomed in, you can see it consists of the approach, horizontal, conical, and outer transitional surfaces. And last but not least is the generalized terp surface. After turning this layer on, you will need to zoom into an airport to better see the surface layer. In this case, I will zoom into the Hayes Airport. So with this layer on and zoomed in, it illustrates the approach surface requirements. These surfaces are separated between approach runway ends, expected to accommodate approaches with positive vertical guidance, and runways expected to accommodate approaches having visibility minimums less than 3/4 of a mile. Now that you know all about the data layers, let's talk about the tools available to you. The first tool is the structure tool. This tool provides the opportunity to create a proposed structure based on a specified height and circumference. Once clicked on and dimensions are input, the structure may be located on the map to provide the initial evaluation compared to objects nearby, including airport airspace. When using the tool, notice that you have an area to input the height as well as the width. You can also define the structure by clicking on the drop-down arrow and then choosing a specific structure that you'd like to plot on your map. You can also name the structure as well as add a brief description. Then, if you move to the right, you have a button that will allow you to add multiple structures at one time. I will show you how to do this in the next section of the tutorial video. You will also find a red button that has a trash can picture on it. This will allow you to delete any structures you currently have on the map. Next to the trash can is the help button. Next to that is a green button with an X on it. This will allow you to close out of the tool completely. Then you have the line tool, which provides an option to create a linear object with a specified height, width, and length. When using the line tool, notice you have a box to input a specific height and a box to input a specific width. Then you can specify a length by hovering over the map. Notice your cursor has a black and white dot following it. To place a line on your map, you can click anywhere one time to start the line, and then go elsewhere on your map and click again to draw your line. Moving to the right, you will find your Polygon Tool, which allows you to create an area to be evaluated in the Google Earth environment, based on your specific height, width, and length. Once you input the height, you can use this tool much like the line tool. Just hover over any area of your map, and notice again you have the black and white dot following your cursor. You can click to start your polygon, and then to end it, you'll just double click. Next, you have your measuring tool. This allows you to measure distance or height in the mapped environment. When using the measuring tool, notice when you hover over your map, your cursor becomes a protractor. You can then click anywhere one time to indicate where to begin measuring, and then click again somewhere else to indicate the end of your measurement. Now take a look at your toolbar window. Notice that it displays the distance for you. You can even go over and click on the drop-down arrow and choose whether you want the measurement in feet, meters, miles, or kilometers. Then you have your location search tool. You may need to scroll over using the scroll bar at the bottom of your screen to see the entire toolbar. This tool provides you with several search options. When using this tool, you can click the first drop-down arrow and choose whether you want to search by one of the available options. So if I chose a city, I could then go over to the right and click on that drop-down arrow, and then I could specify a certain city I would like to go to. So in this case, I'm going to choose Garden City. I'll scroll down, and there's Garden City. I'll click on that, and as soon as I click, the map will automatically zoom to that location. You can also put in a specific address in the address box if you have one. To the right of the address box, you have a bookmark button. So if there was a specific location you wanted to come back to at a later time, you could bookmark it with a name to quickly and easily come back to it. Then there's your coordinate calculator. This allows for input of a specific coordinate either in degrees, minutes, and seconds, or decimal degrees. This tool also allows for placement of a structure based on the proposed coordinate. I'm not done yet. This tool even lets you translate between degrees, minutes, and seconds, and decimal degrees, depending upon the input or output requirements of the application being utilized. When using the coordinate calculator, you can input the lat and long and then choose a structure, as well as give that structure a height and width, and then click Add. Once you click Add, it will plot your structure as well as zoom you to that location. I will be showing you this in the next section of the tutorial video. Now that you know all about the data layers and have been introduced to the tools available to you, I will be taking you through some scenarios to help you get better acquainted with the Kansas Airspace Awareness Tool. So in the past, the FAA has notified interested parties on new aeronautical studies with a postcard. However, in the last couple of years, they have initiated an electronic notification process that many of you are now receiving. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to insert a batch entry of these structures using the email you received. The first thing you'll need to do is go open the email you've received from the FAA. The email comes through looking exactly like this email. Now I want you to remember this format. We have the case numbers, whether or not it's circularized for public comment, if it's a determined case, what city it is related to, and the lat and long information. Take a brief moment to look at the structures listed, then click on one of the links. Once that link opens, pay close attention to the height. Then close the link and go back to your email. Notice that you have everything you need to map your structures in the email, except for the height. We just noticed the height when looking at the form. Next, we're going to need to copy and paste this information into an Excel spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and do that. To copy and paste the information to an Excel spreadsheet, you'll first need to select the information found on the email. Then you can do a right click, copy, go to Excel, and do a right click, paste, and all of your data is now inside an Excel spreadsheet. But remember, we needed to add the height. So let's go to J1 and type in 440 as our height, and then we can fill down by coming to the lower right hand corner, getting our skinny black crosshair and double clicking, and it'll fill down to the very last row where there is data. To copy and paste this information, you will need to go to cell B1 and click and drag all the way down to J23, and then do a right click, copy, then go back out to the Kansas Airspace Awareness Tool, and you'll want to click on the very first tool available to you. Once that tool is clicked on, we can go over and use our batch button. So go ahead and click on that, then come down here to the black area and do a right click, paste, and all the data that we copied from our Excel spreadsheet is now input into the Kansas Airspace Awareness Tool. Let's go ahead and define the structure that we'll be putting on the map. So click on the drop-down arrow and let's choose windmill. Then go down to the lower right-hand corner and choose the first icon to map the structures. You now have a map showing you all of the proposed structures. We now need to take a closer look at what you just placed. The first thing you can do is click and drag with your mouse to pan over and take a look at all your structures plotted on your map. Next, roll with your roller ball to zoom in. And notice that you see an actual avatar of a windmill. Your roller ball, then move your mouse down to get into 3D rotational view so you can see all of the structures that you plotted in a 3D image. Now let's zoom back out and see where it is located in proximity to an airport. Now we will begin to use our data layers. We need to go over to the left-hand side of our screen and turn on the CFR Part 77 Airspace Surface by simply checkmarking the box to the left. Now that you have the CFR Part 77 Airspace Surface turned on, you can zoom in and notice any structures inside of the red conical surface. They might be obstructing the airspace. Let's scroll close to one of them in the red, if there are any, which I see 3. And then go ahead and click and hold your roller wheel and get into 3D rotational view so you can see just how much of the windmill is penetrating the air surface. That was for batch entry. Next, we're going to place a single structure on the map. If you have the lat and long information, you can simply input those coordinates. If you don't, you can click where you want the structure and then enter the desired height and place your structure. So the first thing that you'll need to do is go up and click on the first tool to add a structure on the map. Then you will need to specify the height of the structure. In this case, I'll put in 300 feet. Once you put in the specific height, you'll need to go down and define the structure by clicking on the drop-down arrow. In this case, I'll be choosing elevator. Now notice when you hover over your map, you see an icon following your cursor. At this point, you can choose anywhere on the map to place your structure. Once you find a spot, you can click one time and your structure is plotted. On any structure you have plotted, you can click the blue circle icon above the structure. This is where you will find lat and long information, airport information, as well as a green button you can click on to go to the FAA Notice Criteria tool. Once you click on the green button, you will be taken to the FAA's website. Once you're on the FAA's website, you can take a look at the information below. Notice that all the information about your structure auto-populates into these fields. Then you may need to click Submit to see more information. Once you click Submit, scroll down on the right-hand side of your screen and take a look at the additional information. Notice that the FAA requests that you file. You will need to go and file a 7460-1 form for this particular structure. Once you are done reviewing this information, go ahead and close the web browser and make sure that you're back on the Kansas Airspace Awareness tool. Go ahead and click anywhere on the screen. Once you are done with your plotted structures, you can simply go and remove them by clicking on the first tool on your toolbar. Then go to the right-hand side and click on the red trash can button to remove all added structures from the map. You can then click on the green button with an X on it to close the Add Structure window. Next, I'm going to show you how to zoom to a particular location. In order to do this, you will need to click on the fifth tool on your toolbar. Due to the size of my monitor and settings, I'm going to go to the lower right portion of my screen and scroll to the right using my scroll bar so I can see my entire toolbar. In this case, I know I want to go to the wind farm near Ellsworth, So the first thing I need to do is click on the first drop-down arrow next to Zoom To and choose Wind Farm. Then go to the right, click on the second drop-down arrow, and as soon as I click near Ellsworth, it'll automatically zoom me to that location. Now that we are at the wind farm near Ellsworth, we should be able to see all of the wind turbines, as well as their shadow, but they are hard to see. So if we were to turn on the obstructions data layer, we'd be able to see them better. So let's scroll back to the left, using our scroll bar at the bottom of the screen, and then go turn on the obstructions layer on the left-hand side by checkmarking the box. There we go. Now you should be able to better see your wind turbines. If you want to see where the nearest airport is to this wind farm, you can turn on the CFR Part 77 Airspace Surface. With that turned on, you can zoom out just a little bit and see exactly where the nearest airports are. Next, I'm going to zoom back into my wind farm. So click anywhere and zoom back in. May have to pan over a little bit. Once you are close to I-70 and can still see the wind farm, I'm going to show you how to get into street level view so you can get a closer look. To do this, you will need to go to the right-hand side of your screen and click and drag the man icon to I-70. In this case, I'm going to drop him right here. It'll automatically zoom you in. Then click and drag as if you're panning over to see images of the wind farm. Once you are done in this view, you can go to the upper right-hand corner of the screen and click on the button that says Exit Street View. Earlier, I showed you how to do a batch entry as well as plot a single structure with no known coordinate. This time, I'm going to show you how to plot a single structure using the coordinates from the email you received. So the first thing you'll need to do is go and retrieve the lat and long information from the email. Once you've retrieved the lat and long information from the email, click the sixth tool on your toolbar. And because I can't fully see my toolbar window, I'm going to go down to the lower scroll bar and scroll to the right so that I can fully see that toolbar window. Now we can go input our coordinates into the calculator. So in this case, I'll be typing in 39, and then I can tab over, then 23, tab over, 3.51, go below, and I'm going to type in 99, tab over, 20, tab over, 44.70. Once you get the coordinates put in, then you can go down the lower portion of the tool and click on the drop-down arrow to define the structure. In this case, I'll be choosing windmill. I'll also need to go in and put in a height. So in this case, I'll be putting in 440 feet for the height. Then I'm going to come over and click on the Add button. Once I click on the Add button, my structure will be plotted and it will zoom me to that location. Now I'm going to scroll back to the left side of my screen to turn on the CFR Part 77 Airspace Surface so I can see where the nearest airport is located. Now I'm going to zoom out to better see my location. Then I'm going to go to the left-hand side and turn on my Contacts for Vicinity layer. Now when I hover over my structure, I will automatically see contact information for that area. Now, let's go and measure how far our structure is from I-70. In order to do this, we need to go back to the wind farm near Ellsworth. So click on the fifth tool on your toolbar. In the first drop-down, select Wind Farm. In the second drop-down, select Near Ellsworth. As soon as you click on near Ellsworth, it will automatically zoom you to that location. Once here, we will need to go to the left-hand side of the screen and turn on the obstructions layer so we can better see our structures. Now, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, as well as pan over until I find a structure that's close to I-70. There's one. Let's measure the distance that the tower is from I-70. Now, let's zoom in a little bit to this location. And I'm going to pan up and zoom in just so we can get a little closer to our structure. To measure the distance, you will need to go to the fourth tool on the toolbar. Then hover over your map. Notice that you have a protractor following your cursor. Now you're going to need to click one time where you want the measurement to begin. Then in this case, I'll click next to the tower to end my measurement. Now take a look at the toolbar. It displays your distance for you. You can even come over here to the right-hand side and click on the drop-down arrow and change it from feet to meters to miles or kilometers. For questions or more information, you may contact the Kansas Department of Transportation, Division of Aviation by phone at 785-296-2553 or email them at kdotaviation@ksdot.org.